Hello, family. Welcome to the Wealth Cycle, where we teach how to build a financial legacy. I'm Pastor George Thompson, and I have dedicated my life to helping people get to the next level in their finances, and I teach things in a very practical way that you can utilize it. And also, by the way, I like to have a little bit of fun during the process. So again, I pray this is a blessing for you, but I want to show you how to do it. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is how to build generational wealth. And by the way, a generation is 20 years. And now that you want to build generational wealth, we're going to talk about tonight about how you transfer it. In the Bible, it says in Proverbs 13 and 22, it says, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. I'm going to repeat it again. A good person. So I want to talk to you about a good person, and that's you. Leaves an inheritance. That means you're leaving something for your children's children. In order for this to happen, two things have to happen. One is you have to transfer money. That's finances. The second thing that you transfer is knowledge/wisdom. So we're going to have episodes where I'm going to talk to you about finances. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get from one level to the next level. So let's look at the first level. You could be struggling and sinking. That means inability to pay bills. Steady. Solid means you've been working for a little while. Surplus, and then service. That means you're not even concerned with finances. You're just doing whatever God put you on this earth to do. But as you learn and you go through the journey of life, you want to pass it on to somebody so they don't have to go through the same thing you did. Can I ask you a question? Here, lean in. Wouldn't it have been great for someone just to give you, when you graduated out of college, a couple $100,000? Just type that in chat. That'd be good. Wouldn't that be great for you just to walk down the street and say, this is your house? That's passing a generational blessing. That's financially. Second is passing knowledge. You want to pass knowledge as well. So you've done things in your life, hopefully, financially, that are good. You need to share those. You may have done some things, we all have done it, some things that aren't very good. But you also want to share them and what you learn from them. That's the knowledge part. First was money. The second was knowledge. But I want to change that word from knowledge actually to wisdom. There's a difference. Knowledge is know-how. Wisdom is experience knowledge. And we want to walk you through that process of how you're going to pass a generational blessing. But let me ask you a few questions. First question, if you were disabled or you passed away tonight, are all your financial affairs in order? Meaning like this, somebody knows how to pay your mortgage or how to pay your rent. They know where all of your bills are. They know all of your information, and you have a living trust, a will, or power of attorney, all your affairs in order, and your family knows about it. That's one, okay? Now I'm gonna move side to side and up and down. Just how I said that. Let me ask you a question. Your parents, if your mother and father are alive, you're married, your in-laws, if they're alive, are all of their financial affairs in order? If they were to become ill, would you be able, where would they go? Who would take care of them? And do you have everything in place? Your brother and your sister, if something happened to them, if they have smaller children, who would take care of them, and then what would be the obligations? You, if you have children or grandchildren, are their affairs in order? That's what we want to walk through tonight. And guess what? We're going to do it at the table. Ready, set, grow. Hey family, give me a high five. I bet you there's 5 people that you can think of that you can share this with. We want to make it easy for you to ask a question. Just put it right there in the chat. We may not be able to answer all the questions, but we'll do our very best. Hello, family. Welcome to the Wealth Cycle, where we're showing you how to build a financial legacy. Right here with me today, I got real estate guru, VP of everything, Danette Wilkerson. Danette, how you doing?
I'm good, George. Glad to be back. Hello, hello, hello.
Good, good. One of the things we're going to be really working with and our listeners today and our viewers is this. We want to show about estate planning. And if you know, one of the things people say, estate planning, and then nobody wants to talk about and everything. But actually, from what we do now, is more people actually do want to talk about it. And what we want to work out for everybody is a blueprint.
Okay.
And I want to let you know, everybody, we got 5 benefits. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 benefits of doing estate planning.
Yeah.
So, hey, before I jump into it, though, I got to tell you the true story.
Okay.
I'm in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, one of my first cousins passes away.
Oh, my.
And I get the phone call, and then they say, hey, you're going to come. And, as I'm pastor, they said, hey, we want you to do, we want you to do the eulogy, different things like this. And then I fly, because it's in Mississippi, fly to Memphis, and then I drive there. And they say, hey, we're going to go out to this restaurant, Fish Shack. I said, okay, cool. Shout out to Fish Shack. Awesome. We go there. And then when we drive in, one of the first things they say when they sit down with me and my family members say, hey, we want to sit down and go over her estate plan.
A plan?
Yeah, we want to go
over. The plan or the estate?
Yeah, they say, hey, we want to go over her estate.
Okay.
And I said, who passed? And I said, well, we can't go to the Fish Shack. We got to actually, I guess, go to the mortuary or do whatever we have to do.
Right.
Because they want to do planning then. It's too late.
So it was the plan. They wanted to plan after the fact.
They want to plan after someone has passed.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I know it's your family member.
Right, but you guys, that's the drama of it. Right, and then you see that, and then you obviously see that because we also have a financial planning firm where that happens all the time, and there's different things. So there's 5 things we actually want to walk through with people, so people don't have to go through that.
Okay.
So first of all, number one reason why somebody should have an estate plan, and I want to make sure everybody knows what an estate plan is. We're going to walk through it and actually the steps. Number one reason why someone is the cost.
That's probably why they didn't have one.
Is that actually, though, it costs, this is the thing with estate planning that I want you to chime in, is it costs more not to have a plan than to have a plan. Because what happens right now, as I spoke about earlier, is what happens now if someone passes away in your family. So think about this right now. If someone passed away in your family, let's say it was your mother or your father, if someone passed away, okay, how do you get into their computer for their passwords, or how do you pay their mortgage? How do you pay their bills? How do different things get paid? That's number one. Then, how do they set up everything from then? Your question, you have any experience with that, or you've seen that happen?
Well, I know my family's watching, so I'm not going to talk about my people. But yes, I had an uncle pass away who did not have an estate plan. He had a will, so we went through probate. Right. The fun of that.
Right. So everybody, I'm sorry if I mentioned the swear word right away.
Probate.
There's a term, probate. So just want to do it. So we did cost. Now I just want to go into the headache of it. So probate means that you go to court, and that's going to settle someone's affairs.
Yeah.
So prior to the pandemic, it used to take about 2 years. Or that's a ballpark. We'll say 1 to 3 years, depending on there. Then what we're finding out now is we haven't got ones that actually have gotten out since COVID has happened. If someone has that, and then going through, because you couldn't go down to the courthouse. Now they're having it, or at least when you go down there, they're backlogged. But then, let's say they could do a whole lot of cases. Now it's much fewer. It's fewer and fewer cases.
Less people in the courtroom, etc.
So they're doing that. So then what happens is it makes it a lot worse. So then what we're seeing is that area. So now I just want to have people work. So one of the things we're doing is let's look at how we can write down or different things that our viewers can do and kind of look at. So number one is, we went over this a little bit earlier, but I want to start with this again, is what happens if you passed away tonight? Are there arrangements made to where people know what would happen? That's one.
Okay.
2.
Got a question for me?
Gotcha.
Personally?
Oh, yeah, gotcha, yeah.
What happened? Is there people that know? Yes, my daughter knows everything, has access to my account, and she has the you'll get into this, right?
Right.
My financial peace of mind checklist.
That's what we're going to do at the end. That's what we're going to do at the end. That's actually perfect. Okay, good. So then we know that.
Me.
So the reason why we're saying that is we want to actually have something where we sit down with your family, and then as you guys see right here, there's a table. This exact same way that we're sitting at a table, you want to sit with your family and start having a kitchen table conversation, and that's why you're doing that. But I'm gonna walk through just a few more. So number one was cost. Then also we said drama/headache. So as we're doing that, we're not only looking at if this were to happen to you, remember that we're going to go sideways, and then we're going to, what happened if your brother passed away?
Okay.
I'm talking about his family. So if your brother or your sister passed away, what would happen with their children? If they have children that are under age 18, or if you're doing this, what would be the process with this? What would happen with their home? Because you see, can some people just come over and take over the payments, or can they not take over the payments and then do this? Then let's go up.
Okay.
What would happen if your parents, are there certain preparations that are made with parents right now? In other words, like your parents. So let's say they don't pass away, but let's say they become disabled. So every day you have what's called assisted daily living. You're familiar, as you know, we're familiar with that. So there's 6 things that you can do every day, right? So people can dress themselves. They can do what's called transfer, stand up somewhere and sit somewhere else. Then they can obviously go to the bathroom, hold it. Then they also have to prepare food and be able to eat it.
Okay.
When you can't do 2 of those, that's when you need care. So there care for your parents if they became ill and they couldn't take care of themselves. So you may want to look at something called long-term care insurance. And you obviously see we do a lot with that when people ask us about that. And also here at the church, we get calls when people say, hey, you know somebody can help take care of my mother. If you're working your job, or do you have the ability just to take off and be able to have that? Do you have space in your home for that? And also, most importantly, do you have the finances to be able to pay for care for 4 hours a day, 8 hours a day, or in some cases, 24 hours a day?
Right. Over an extended period of time.
Right, because you don't know if it's going to be a month, 6 months, things like that. So we went over cost, drama. Next, taxes. That if you don't have a living trust, then there's also taxes if your property is in your name and then you transfer it into someone else's after you go through all the costs of probate. There's a lot of tax advantages to that in all the areas that you actually walk through in those. And then probably I'd say, if you want to color that, you can. But then also the 4th one is control. Actually, before we go to control, I'd actually say privacy. Whenever you take and you ever have a property, that there's always a privacy issue, because if you go right now and if you pass away, it's a public document. So if you have a home, it'll show that your home, it'll say that the person passed, and then it'll eventually go to probate, and all those courses public knowledge. So then people are calling your families. So you're seeing examples of that, maybe not with your family, but just when we're having things where they're actually calling, and they're calling you all the time saying, can I buy your house? Can I take this from you? Can I do that for you? And in different areas like that. So what's happening is it's actually showing you how to do that. So that's an area of privacy. When you have a living trust, everything is private. So it's private in this. I actually don't get solicitations to a lot of the properties where they know my name, because it just says it's in the trust or it's in the LLC. They're saying, hey, is such and such LLC there? And I'm like, yeah, the wrong one. You know, like you don't have to answer that the same way. So as you see, there's advantages to privacy. And then I also, probably the next area I'd like to go into is just control. I think that one of the things is when people want to plan out their future, they have to have some level of control in what they're doing. So if you don't have a living trust, then it's just a document. Then then you have to hope everybody else does that. If you're ill, if you go in the hospital, you hope everybody makes the right decisions with your home, everything you're doing, you hope everybody makes the right decisions.
Right.
If you have a trust, everything is written out in that.
Let me ask you a question. So when you said it was your aunt
His first cousin.
Your first cousin that passed away. So I'm not trying to get into the drama.
Right. No,
but,
you can get into it.
Okay, okay.
And then, but I just had an aunt passing. She's a good example.
Really? Okay.
She's
So
actually a good
so they came to you and they're like, oh, so we need to figure out this estate plan thing. What happened?
Oh, simple.
Yeah.
They sat down. They said, "Hey, what's going to go on with her house?"
Yeah.
And I said,
What
"Oh,
they
that's between that and the state of Mississippi."
Mm-hmm.
Hey, she has at her job. Do they have a pension, or who did she select on the different forms or the different things? I said, I have absolutely no idea. And then when you call these organizations, you say you call where somebody worked. They'll say they don't know. They'll say they don't.
can't give out
They
the
can't help you because they can only talk to that person.
Yeah.
Then also, wait, you said drama. This is another drama that we've had happen several times. It's this: someone will be married to somebody,
Uh-oh. I think I know where you're
and
going.
they got, you know where I'm going. They'll be married to somebody,
Yeah.
and then let's say they married somebody and they started working. I'm going to use the example. They started working. Let's say it was a bus company. They worked for
Sure.
a bus company,
Yeah.
and they started working there, and they worked there for and they were married.
Yeah.
And they worked there for 20 years, and they were divorced during that 20-year period. And then they retired. And then they passed, they have a new, let's say a new girlfriend, or they've been remarried.
Yeah,
And what
remarried.
they do is, and then they pass. They may have on there picked on an election,
First wife.
put down the first wife,
Yes.
and they get,
Oh, that's the drama. Here we go. Here we go.
they get right, they get right.
Yes.
And they get
cashing in those chips.
right. But you see, unfortunately, the family and going through
Oh, they
all the
gonna
things,
fight me
they're
tooth and
mad,
nail.
and then also people riding already in the hearse.
I'm sorry. I know.
But
That's the drama, though. That's the drama.
but not only that, it's just the planning.
And then
of
it's
that.
not funny. I'm sorry. It's not funny.
She don't really mean that, y'all. But you see, that's the thing of not planning it.
No, I understand.
And that's actually which moves into what I like to just cover next, is steps that somebody would want to do
Sure, yeah,
and get their house in order.
Yeah.
So, Danette, so let's look at certain things that people want to have together. Number one, to have your estate in order, the first thing you want to have is you want to have a living trust. So, and I'll go over some elements of living trust, and you can also add a color to that if you'd like to. So, in a living trust, that's a document saying what you want, how you want to have your assets distributed, and you are the trustee. So you created it, and then you're called the trustor, and then you have someone called a successor trustee. That's who you're transferring everything to. That's who is handling the executor of your estate. Then you have beneficiaries, and that's who you want everyone to go to.
Popular question people always ask, do you still need to or should you have an actual will in addition to having the trust itself?
Right. That's a really good question. That leads us to our next point, is that you actually do want to have a will and a living trust.
Right.
So when I answer that question, the reason why is if you pass or something happens to you and you didn't put it in the trust. A trust would be like, a good example would be like in the military when you're driving a M1 Abrams tank and you're sitting out there on a battlefield, and what you do is you put everything in the tank. That's the trust. Not having or not putting in the trust would be like you getting out of a M1 Abrams tank in the middle of a battlefield and walking around without it. Because sometimes people, I know you're laughing, but some people put their bank account, or they'll open up a brokerage account, or they'll put they'll take the house out of the trust. And then something happens, and then that's a problem. But then what do? Sorry, I'm clapping. I was excited about what I'm going to say. Is what you do is, then you have a pour over will. It's like an arm reaches out and puts it back in the trust. So you make that happen.
Yeah, because the will part, I know, is the details, like all of the things. I want to give this pearl necklace to my Aunt Bessie, and my my Nike collection to my homeboy Jake or whoever, and a lot of people, they make the will, but they don't do they think that the will is going to settle everything that they want as their wishes, but without the trust, the will is what's sending you to probate.
Right.
Now, without a will, that's even worse. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's layers and layers and layers to that.
But that's a good point. So let's just go over again what you just said. So let's say someone doesn't have a will.
Right.
Then they go to probate, and then they have to go through court and pay all those costs and fees. So let's say between 2 to 5% of whatever it is, like you're just paying all those fees, and you're hiring an attorney.
to pay
What
his
you gonna have?
fees.
Oh, yes. And then everything just keeps dragging out,
yeah.
and it takes years. But my question to you is that the question I have for anybody is, who pays the mortgage all during that time?
Right,
And you don't have
yeah.
access to the people's accounts or the different things. You can't refinance. It's very difficult to do certain things. Like
You mentioned taking for those that have a trust, and they may be familiar with this term, they have to take it out of the trust. Sometimes people refinance their home.
Yep.
They take it out of the trust and then think that it's automatically going back into the trust, but it doesn't. So I just wanted to throw that out there because when you brought it up, it just reminded me of a few incidents that came in play.
So today I want to let you know you're doing a very good job of trying to keep everybody anonymity. And by the way, the reason why you here is that you know, whenever this happens, you're the person we call, and then we have to do these. So we're just gonna change the name. You already changed it. You already changed the name to Nike, Jake's Nike collection. So
Jake wasn't real, but
right.
Nike. Are we able to mention Nike on air?
We can.
Okay.
We can.
I didn't tell him to buy the stock. I just said your Nike collection.
That's another show.
Seriously.
So someone has a trust. So what happens is somebody that doesn't have one has to go through probate.
Right.
It's very difficult. They go through that process.
Right.
The second is if they have a will, then what they're going to do is they're going to go through probate, but it won't be as hard as if they didn't.
Yeah.
But then back to did I tell you about the M1 Abrams tank? So
if you have these military analogies,
I know. But it's like doing that, or it's like you're having that all together. So what you're going to have is a will and a living trust that says all of your wishes, all the way down to, hey, do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want all these things? You actually have to have those written.
Because that's
and then you have to be questioned, right? And that we had several ones that have that. That's why you want to make sure those are recorded,
written down,
and that you have that, and you have it written down.
Yeah.
And do you want to be? And then also we're saying these things, and it's not being. Do you want to be hooked up to machines, or do you not want to?
Yeah. How long will you be on life support?
Because back to the drama, I do want to come back to that. Is what we call the sandbox finding. You'll see a brother and a sister, or you see relatives argue about the care for someone, and some of them haven't talked to the person in years, and in doing it. And so what needs to happen is your wishes need to be done. That's why you do a living trust.
Can I also add this?
Yes.
So a lot of times people write this stuff out and they don't tell anybody. Right? As opposed to having a kitchen table conversation with your family members while you're still capable and explain to them what your wishes are. Like a lot of times people write a will and it's like a big secret, and then you come to the table afterwards and everybody's like, I wonder what she's gonna say. And then it becomes, that's not what she told me. Even that maybe the will was written, and how you can contest them with my legal background is that if it's old, like 20 years old or some odd number like that, it goes back so far, family members can contest that was their intention today. You know what I mean? The living trust is one thing, but the will itself, people should remember and trust, update them. So I know you might want to get into that, but yeah, updating is important too, because your wishes may change.
Right, so that's good. So after you have this, we want to come back and we'll make sure we mention that best practices. About every 2 years is a good time to do that.
Okay.
All right, so got it. So now we covered living trust. Now we've covered pour over will. Now I'd like to cover another element, and then I'm going to let you hit that.
What is
that? Is power.
Power.
POA. What's POA stand for?
Power of attorney.
So what's that?
Power of attorney is giving someone the written permission to execute on your behalf, whether you're ill, your finances. Let's say you get incapacitated and you can't make decisions any longer. This person that you designate will be able to make those decisions for you. Even refinance your home. We've experienced clients who have become incapacitated, and the family member needs the money from the household in order to execute whatever it is. Or maybe they need to sell the home so that the person can move into a place where you were talking about this 24-hour care, but there's no way to finance it, and the only asset this person may have is a house. But if they're incapacitated, they can't refinance, they can't sell, they can't do anything without that power of attorney.
Wow, that was a good, okay, wow, perfect, okay, cool. So everybody, just to recap what you had said, there are two types of power of attorney. One is medical, the other is financial.
Correct.
You want to make sure that is in your trust, and since you've done that, and then now we're clicking into your legal background. So now she ain't only the real estate guru, now she's that.
Many hats.
And then also there's something called the healthcare directive.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the same person do both. You can have one.
One person do financial, one person do medical, and then there's a healthcare directive.
Sure. Yeah. The healthcare directive is just basically explaining what your wishes are regarding your health. I mean, because if I get incapacitated and something happens and, they hook you up to the machines that help you breathe and so on and so forth. But let's say your brain is no longer functioning. Right. How long do you keep that going? And then that's where that drama comes back in, because sister says, mom said she wants to take it off. Brother saying, I don't want her to go. And then you guys have, the two brothers and sisters or several family members may have to make that decision, which is really rough.
Right. So now we've learned and we've gone over the challenges, right? Mm-hmm. The cost. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say the headache, the drama. Mm-hmm. And just so you know, and you guys, just so you know, it's like we ought to even have people type in the chat or even do things like this different experience you have so that we can sit down and have these type of conversations. Because you want to have them now. Because every time I go to a funeral, that's one of the things people talk about. And then when they're done correctly or otherwise.
That's another point. The funeral should be included in the will, as far as what a lot of people don't want to plan their own funeral. But again, it is very challenging for people to plan funerals in grief.
Right.
And so then you still have the drama with the siblings saying, Mom wouldn't want purple flowers. She wants there's all the different things. So, sit down with your family. And I know people don't, what is the saying? You always say people want to die.
Everybody,
it's my favorite.
All Christians
I love
want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die.
Don't nobody want to die, but we all want to go to heaven. So when we're thinking about this, exit strategy, for lack of a better phrase.
No, it's not an exit. It's transition.
Okay, that's
because what they're doing is because the reason why we're saying this, and the reason why I'm so in that, and I'm so passionate about this, and why people want to have this is that this is passing generational wealth.
Sure.
And as I said, I've said several times, to pass generational wealth, two things have to be in order. Mm-hmm. Number one is to pass generational, you have to have the money. Mm-hmm. The second is you have to be able to pass is the knowledge or wisdom.
Yeah.
So the person, whoever you are, you have hopefully at whatever level in life you got to, that you've taught your kids, your grandkids, financial things, and then you want to transfer it to them. So since you don't like military analogy, we're going to use football season is upon us. Yes. We don't want to fumble
the ball.
You see, we got to get the ball. I was talking to this guy, Patrick Wise, before.
Really?
I said, you got to tuck the ball in. And you got to put a finger on it. Mm-hmm. And the first finger you got to put on there is that you got to make sure that the cost is right. Mm-hmm. Then you got the one, you don't want to have the drama in there, right? Then we want to make sure the taxes aren't on it. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that the privacy, and then you got to control the ball.
Okay.
So that's how we want to do it.
I like that analogy.
But also, a really good analogy, as you said, it's just funny because you know me so well, because you know my travel schedule is that was my first cousin. But as you know, very recently, for those of you who know, I miss Sundays, that my aunt did pass away. Mm-hmm. And she did everything perfectly. Mm-hmm. She called me, she passed away this summer in July. She called me 2.5 years ago. I answered my phone. Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking to my cousin. I said, I'm just brilliant chat. I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, my mom wants to talk to you. He goes, my mom wants to talk to you. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, auntie, I want you to do my eulogy. Mm-hmm. I look at the phone. I said, is something happening today?
Right.
Because she is, she goes, no, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I'm planning.
Yes.
I'm planning everything. She didn't say my funeral. She said, I'm planning everything.
Everything, yeah.
People plan for a vacation. Mm-hmm. Get the airline, book the hotel. We going down to this restaurant. We going down there.
And snacks.
Oh, we got the snacks. oh, and then wait, we gonna do the we got all that stuff planned.
Yeah.
But we don't plan that.
Yeah.
She called me.
Okay.
Then I get a phone call this summer. She transitioned. But she lived a good life.
That's good.
She was 80, she passed.
Okay.
Then when I arrived, I'm sorry, in Tennessee, remember, because Mississippi, they had propeller planes, yeah, the whole bit. I said, I drove in. They said, hey, this is when they're having and guess what? We went down to the viewing and everything. She was wearing a dress. Right, this is the thing. I talked to her about her eulogy before. And I said what I was going to ask her kids. And we know that her favorite scripture is Psalms, the 23rd Psalm.
Right.
So guess what? The pastor got there, they had the 23rd Psalm there. And she had a different outfit on. Everything was done like it was all laid out. And then she was a really Proverbs 31. I preached the eulogy.
No.
And she's a Proverbs 31 woman. I got her. And I was talking at her repast because she was just really a proper. There was no paper plates or anything. She isn't a paper. That's where I get that. You know, that's where I get that from.
Oh, the no plastic and paper.
She knows that we don't do plastic or paper. I got that from her. I use that in talk about that in eulogy. But you see, that was her planning everything down, and everyone enjoyed themselves. And she said, "This way it starts off. This is not a down day. It's a celebrating her life. There is no better way to celebrate someone's life when everything is prepared."
Yeah, totally.
That was the best. It was like a wedding. Like I went there. I mean,
right.
I'm not I wasn't excited,
it's
but
a celebration.
But I was like, you can look at all that someone's done.
Yeah.
And then they can take that ball and they can pass it to her kids and say, this is an example of how you live your life.
Yeah. That's awesome.
In the Bible,
oh, go ahead.
In the Bible, it says in Matthew 25, 18, it says, well done, thy good and faithful servant. When you look back at your life, I can say that about her. That God is, that's what I want God to say about me. That's what I'm going to say about you. That's what I'm going to say about you. But we also want to have our house in order.
Yes, you're about to get me emotional, Pastor.
But okay, you can be emotional, but that's what we're doing.
I know what we're talking about. I mean, it's not easy to talk about. I mean, here we are at the kitchen table, having this conversation, talking about death. Nobody, like you said, nobody really wants to talk about it, but it has to be discussed. I mean, I don't want to fight with my brothers over my mom.
Right.
I don't want to always tell my mom, and if you listen, I said this 1,000 times, I don't want to have to kick my brothers out the house. I'm not even sure, but anyway, I won't get into that.
No, but that's a great point.
I don't want to have to, do that. And I was over there the other day, and I said to my brother, I don't even know why we were talking about this, but I said, you're gonna have to take over this mortgage, right? And so he because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to, in order for me to not ask you to depart, you're going to have to be financially able to take over this mortgage so that I do not have to sell this house up from under you, because I don't need the house with you in it.
People, hey, there's about
the new owner
can about 10 people right now that you know 10 people these things do right now. But that's an exact example.
Yeah.
Because like if they were living, because see what happens is if people are living in your mother's and we already did the seminar, don't sell grandmother's house.
Well, I might have to if you in it.
Right. But you see, if they're living there rent free, then that your mother and then your mother or the person that's doing this has to have these conversations
with
now.
Them. Yeah, that's why I brought
so that we're doing it, and that you guys can use the kitchen table. Y'all, but don't do the stuff. Yeah,
we was in the living room.
And then just cross your legs and say this, Mama. So what you want to do?
Exactly, and that's the point. And then she had already made mention. This is, the house is, I'm going to be the one controlling the estate, right?
Oh, okay.
But there's 2 baby brothers in the house.
I'm understanding.
You know what I'm saying? And so both of y'all got to figure this out amongst the 2 of you. Now, of course, every time she brings up conversation, like how your aunt called you and said that. You're like, is there something you need to tell me? Because she'll bring it up here and there, and I'm like, quit saying that, because I too don't want to have a conversation with my mom about her transitioning, but it is something important to do. Like, she gave me the book, the estate plan book. She handed that to me about a year ago, and I'm like, well, I just wanted you to have it so that you know where it is, right? So instead of you coming to the house, rummaging through, trying to find it, right? You hold it. And that'll also remind me that she needs to update it every now and again. But yeah, it's just those things that you guys have to have these conversations.
Let me help you out, but I want to. This is how this should be done. Is you see how your mother gave that to you? That's on the kitchen table conversation right now, so that everybody gives it to her. Like you give it to your daughter.
My daughter, yeah.
God, here comes a generation. A generation, by the way, is every 20 years. So what happens is every generation. So you're like, hey, mom, this is what I'm gonna do. Hey, this is how I'm doing. Because this is how our legacies. There's other families that are sitting around that already know this. The kids were given this when they were 18, or they know, and doing this. So what happens is you're giving those documents. But I want to say this, because this all ended. People didn't want to talk about this, but during COVID, when the pandemic first hit, people want to talk about it, because people were going to the hospital. Just stop me when I'm not telling the truth. And you couldn't talk to the person. You couldn't go in the hospital. You couldn't do nothing. Then they had a little thing where you could talk to them on iPad, but then you couldn't even do that. And doing that. So it's better to have all this information out. Hey, how's the mortgage? How is this stuff done? How do we do this? And then to the people that have safety deposit box, remember the banks you couldn't even go in there to get it. So that's why you want to make sure you have it. But now actually everyone has them on computer, like on the flash drive. So you actually want to have that they all have to be scanned in. So what I want to do is I want to close with this, is that you need to have your family financial plan. That's how you're going to have a legacy. And your estate plan is part of it. And a will is not enough. It's start point, but you want to build that out. Then, Danette, we're going to do a separate show. It's going to be called a family financial workshop.
I love that.
Where you guys are going to write down your goals, your values, everything, and you're going to build wealth. Whatever level you're at financially, you're going to build wealth. You are, and your whole family is going to build wealth.
Can your dad come?
And then you're going to have that. Yeah, my dad was awesome on this. And you're going to build something called a wealth notebook. And what's going to happen is going to have this in there. So you have this detailed, your estate plan. But when you're reading that to your kids, then you tell them, hey, these are some things that I did. Show them. These are some things. I'm talking about your mama now. I'm
talking about my mom.
I'm going to talk about your mom. Your mother has made some really good decisions in her life. Those need to be told. You guys, write this down. If you're under 40, type it down. Then, second thing is, she's made some poor decisions. She needs to tell you those too. Then you made some good decisions.
Thank you.
Well, one of them's working with me. Okay, good. All right, second is this, but you made some poor decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got to share them with your daughter and your family. Because you guys are 40, and your daughter has it. Right. So then you want to have that, and then you want to share that together and bring it. We're saying to the table. Because all that
under the table stuff.
This under the table stuff ain't working.
Except money. Money under the table. I was just kidding.
I want to do it.
Sorry, Uncle Sam. I was just joking.
Got you.
I don't know nothing about that.
She didn't say that. Last thing, I just want to make sure I give you all the resources to be able to do this. So we actually have something that we give out and that we have, and then we're going to make it, our email, make it available. It's called a Peace of Mind Checklist. So in a Peace of Mind Checklist, what that is that we want you to fill out, and then I want to talk to you, and then someone say generation. Just say generation, it's okay. Come on. That for you to give to your parents, then also for you to give your brothers, sisters. You guys are going to go, remember, like a joystick, you're going to go up. All right, then you're going to give your aunts and uncles, you're going to give this thing, but this is a document that you want to fill out and share with your family. So first of all, like who your financial advisor is, who your insurance person is, and then who is your car insurance and everything like this, your cars, like who that person is. Bank accounts. And then you want to do that. This is great.
I need the numbers.
You see that?
No, you do. I'm not. We do.
Yes. So everyone, I'm just going to handle bank accounts before that, where the birth certificate is.
Yes.
So we need to have that. Social Security card, because people may be receiving Social Security. You need to have that. Passport, driver's license, and then I'm not being funny, but adoption papers. Sometimes
Sure.
people
Yeah.
adopt people they
Yeah,
didn't, and then in doing that, and then in a marriage certificate.
And
Okay,
divorce
and then you went
papers.
to divorce. Thank you. Safety deposit box.
They still
Okay.
make those?
Yeah, this is we're still, as you know, we're still getting those. So
Okay.
those also, as Danette would like to tell you guys, everyone, that you want to have the bank statements, but also we need to know the bank account, bank numbers, so that people know where to go to
Right.
pay for things, whether if you're ill or if something happens like this, and then also all your brokerage accounts, investments, and then I'm just going to name these. I'm going to say these fast, but it's better if you have the form. Something called a 401k. It's a for-profit company. 403b. 457, and then there's also SEP, Simplified Employee Pensions, other just pensions, there's other benefits, life insurance. You want to know like who the company is, what the policy number is, so that you can you want to look at these so you see what coverage the person has. And then also you want to make sure people are making the payments and how they're made. And then they may have alternative investments, and this is also something that's happened. There are plenty of people that have lent people money to buy homes. Then when they pass away, they go, oh, I don't remember that. So we need to have that written, and just different things, all assets and everything like that, and all beneficiary agreements. So this is all in a document we have.
certificates, all
Right. Stock certificates, they do it. But we want to have all these documents. They're all in what's called a peace of mind checklist.
How
So
do
we're
they
going to
get
put that
that?
in the chat. And then also we're going to have an opportunity for you to get that by, we're going to either put it in the chat, or also we're going to do it where you send us, where you fill out on my website, and then we'll have it where it gets sent to you.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you want you to download it. But okay, I'm going to say that to you, but it'll cost you something. It'll cost you to give me a high five. And what that is, everybody, I want you to understand the cost. I want you to think about 5 people that you can send it to. That you can send it to help. And then the other cost is just that you would just, not cost. I'm sorry, it doesn't cost anything. It'll be an investment for you. I'd like for you to invest in yourself, in your family, and share it with them.
So how do they get to your website?
So, you go to my website at georgebthompson.com. You just go there, or hey.
I can't find George.com.
There you go. Anybody can't say you can't get a hold of me.
That's
Just go
what
to
they always
ican'tfindgeorge.com, and then they don't say it anymore. You go to ican'tfindgeorge.com, but if you go to georgebthompson.com,
There you
you'll be
go.
able to download that peace of mind checklist, and it'll bless you.
I guess I better hurry up and get that up.
Good. All right, gotcha. Everybody,
This
I'd
is
like to
great.
thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Wealth Cycle. Our goal here is to help you in the area of bringing your family to the next level and leaving a legacy. We're showing you how to do generational wealth. I'll be doing some series going forward that's going to be showing you how to get out of debt, how to invest, and how to do it God's way. As you see, we also have a little bit of humor involved in what we're doing, but I also want to make sure that you have practical steps that you can take and walk through to not only bring you, but your family to the next level.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Hey family, give me a high five. I bet you there's 5 people that you can think of that you can share this with. We want to make it easy for you to ask a question. Just put it right there in the chat. We may not be able to answer all the questions, but we'll do our very best.